Welcome to another episode of Business Sense. My name is Godswill Ayemoba. On Business Sense this week, we'll be looking into a very dynamic sector in a nation's economy. That's the visual arts sector. Doing a little research recently, I saw that arts world over are commanding figures that could be a turnaround for any country's economy. And why should Nigeria be left out? Going to the UK and America, you find out that works of artists from William de Kooning, his interchange sells for as much as $300 million. Not to mention Mona Lisa, the very popular one, goes for as much as $100 million in value. These are figures that are for single works, not to talk of the complete art market in those countries. What has Nigeria got to do in this? How does Nigeria take advantage of this market? For our today's episode, to satisfy our curiosity, we brought an art expert, one whose profile cut across the entire globe. At this point, I'd like to welcome to our program on Business Sense, Mr. Joe Musa. He's going to demystify all the mysteries surrounding art, why art is so relevant and so valued and appreciated in other climes. And when we come back home, we struggle to even tell those who are our foremost artists which works will sell, which works will make the Nigerian artists live like that superstar that they are supposed to be. For today, let's go over and see our expert. You're welcome to our program.
Thank you, Will.
Can you please tell us a little about the Nigerian art market?
The Nigerian art market is still very much in its infantile stage. Give or take, where the market, has a business circle of about less than 500 million naira, that is taking place, but it can grow to a peak of about even 10% of the Nigerian budget, or, as we could say, if we have to put it in raw form, it can grow up to 10 billion US dollars if it is well nurtured. And the Nigerian market, art market again, is stratified into three different levels. Number one, you can buy works from artists in their studios, go to their studios off the shelf. Number two, you can go to galleries, dealers who represent artists. That is a secondary market. Then the tertiary market, which is what really creates the dynamics of the strength and value of art, is the art auction system. The art auction is still very much in its infantile stage right now in the Nigerian market. And truth be told, recession, that word recession is not just an ordinary word. It's there, and the art can be exploited as an alternative income-generating sector.
So, from what you are saying now, the art can be included in the whole talk about diversification of the economy.
Absolutely, that is the essence of my focus for the past years. That art is also as important as sports, oil, gas, or whatever. Every sector is as important as each other.
So, if we decide to draw the government's attention to art as a market to be looked into, then what impact and contribution can this market make to the Nigerian economy? Because the Nigerian economy is dying for a way out now.
Okay, let me break it down. Let me break it down into simple forms. Once an artist graduates from school, you find that he easily, without looking for a job, he's already self-employed. He gets into his system, and now let's focus on the visual art. And the young artist does not bother looking for a job. He begins to create. Now, you imagine the picture of a large spectrum of cottage industry all over the landscape. You know, you find the youths are engaged already. Now, his counterpart in banking or finance or oil and gas will be there spending 1 or 2 years in the employment market looking for a job. But the artist is already occupied, doing something. Now, so you find the art already is positioned, you know, in all developed systems, the art itself is positioned equally with other sectors. Unfortunately, in the African, you know, side of the world, you find that the art is not given its relevant position and place. So people now assume that the art is not doing well like every other sector, but that is not the case. You know, so if you take care of it well, it will also generate. It's like a poultry; it will produce the egg. You take care of the hen that lays the golden eggs.
Yes. But in not too far a time past, you held a very important position as far as art is concerned in Nigeria. You were the Director General of the National Gallery. What has the art done to draw the attention of the government to itself?
Unfortunately, it's a sad story. Yeah. It's a very sad story. The art really has not done, the visual art specifically has not done much. If you look at Nollywood, Nollywood has done far more. Those in the subsector of literature and all that, they've done a bit better. But the visual arts continue to be stunted in growth. There's at least two scenarios that you may need to know. There was a time that an art dealer bought works and took to the villa. And for close to 5 to 8 years, artists couldn't get their money because they couldn't get access to the villa. Now, and these artists produced works, and these works were exhibited on the walls of the villa, of the Aso Rock Villa. So it took time until we came in and had to get these payments effected. Finally, the country needs to have good policies on ground. That is the number one issue. Good policies that favors this sector. Number two, not just having good policies, because the policies will be there, but the head is not interested in this sector. Now, let me give you an easy reference. When President Olusegun Obasanjo was the president, and there was need to build that stadium for that sporting event that took place in Abuja, the stadium was built, like that, as fast as budget appeared, everything appeared, and the stadium was on ground and began to function. We can't say that about the visual arts. We can't say that about arts generally. And when I use the word arts, I mean arts and culture. Then sometimes I will deliberately use the word visual art. Now, looking at visual art is a very humongous industry. It's so much and it's so rich. It can generate for Nigeria close to $30 billion if it is well systemized. Now, about 2 years ago, Sotheby's generated $6 billion. Christie's generate $5.6 billion. Now, these are US You know, Christie's is for the US, while Sotheby's is for the UK, British market. Now, there's the one of India, generated $3 billion US. I mean, there was market activity of that amount.
And you mean while all these were happening, the Nigerian market was absent?
Or how much we generated is not readily available, unfortunately. And the only there's only one of the art auction houses who traded and did some deals in Nigeria. And
it must be in Lagos.
Huh?
It must be in Lagos.
Oh yes, that was in Lagos. And about 3 or 4 of them, whatever they generated or whatever they made, I don't think it's up to 500 million.
In this sector, how does the arts create room for its young entrepreneurs?
First and foremost, government has been talking so much about creating a system and creating the national endowments for the arts.
Okay, you mean there's been...
Yeah, there's been talk about it.
That talk will be how we'll start the next segment of the show.
Okay.
Because we have to go for a break now. And right after the break, you take us along that line. And please don't forget to search for Business Sense on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook and on Twitter using the addresses and the handle that will scroll right beneath your screen. Thank you, and we'll see you when we get back.